Well, welcome to Noel's World of Whiskey. Now, the last review, we headed north of Inverness, and we passed some very famous distilleries on the way up to Ball-Blair Distillery, which is an InverHouse distillery. Tonight, we're going to be heading east of Inverness to another InverHouse distillery. And we're going to be heading east on Highway 96 all the way to Keith. And when we get to Keith, we're going to turn on what's called the Banff Road, or A95.
You follow Highway A95 for 8 miles until you come to the Knock sign. You then turn down a narrow road for about a mile, and you will arrive at Knockdhu Distillery.
You recognize it. Ancnoc. Ancnoc. You see the pronunciation? That's A-N-C-N-O-C, which means hill. And that's what Ancnoc, or Knock, that area, that's what it is noted for, is the big hill in Knock, the village of Knock. And what do we got? An 18 and a 24. Now, I want to review both of these, and I'd like to kind of compare them. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history on it, but not a lot, because if you go back to my review on the 18, I have a lot more detailed history on it. It was the very first distillery built by DCL, when the DCL was formed. Actually, the Knock estate was purchased by a guy by the name of John Morrison. And that's way back in the early 1890s, and he got it from the Duke of Fife, and he noticed that there was really good water on that land. Now, they had, an incredible amount of peat in that area. It was a barley capital of Scotland, very good quality barley, and the rail line had a branch that went right through to the Knock area. It was perfect. So DCL offered John Morrison a pretty good sum for it, and he sold it. And they had it basically in production, I believe around 1894, somewhere around there. They were starting to distill. It's two stills. In those days, it was probably a decent size, and it was a bit of the pride of DCL at that time. And it has never expanded from those two stills. So today it's considered a small distillery.
The machinery starts with the ancient Porteous grist mill that feeds the malted barley grist into the semi-loader 4.5-ton copper dome steel mash tun. The 6 23,000-liter Oregon pine washbacks have a fermenting time of 60 hours. The wash still is then charged to 11,500 liters, and these low wines will charge the spirit still to 14,500 liters. It is unusual that both worm pipes for the wash and the spirit still are in one worm tub. The new make spirit is at 69% ABV. It is filled into American oak bourbon barrels and first fill sherry casks. In 2010, during a bad blizzard, the weight from the heavy snow collapsed a couple of their warehouses. They have recently rebuilt those warehouses.
DCL ran it right up into the 30s, and it was during the Depression. They had to shut down for a couple of years. 31, I think it was, they shut down just for a couple of years, and they were right back at it until, of course, the Second World War and the restrictions on barley. And then, of course, in 45, it got reopened, and it ran right up until 1983. And of course, we know the whiskey law, and basically DCL shut her down, and then they sold it to InverHouse in 1988. And in 1989, it was back in production again. Now, when you think of Knockdhu, and then you think of the other distillery that I visited, Knockando, which of course was right across on the other side of the Spey River from Glenfarclas, just a few miles away, actually very close to Tamdhu Distillery. Knockando and Knockdhu, they sounded too much alike. And Ancnoc was this hill Gaelic sounded like a good name, I guess. So it's been Ancnoc ever since. It's an interesting trip there. I sort of remember we headed east on, I think it was A96. We hit Nairn. That's a few miles outside to the east of Inverness, and then Forez, and then we go through Elgin. And then we get to Keith. Now we were stopping at distilleries on the way. Now Keith was one of the places we were going to stay, and we had a B&B set up there. But here we're back in Keith, and we did want to see Strathisla. That was one of my focuses, and that's where I picked up my Longmorn whiskey here, the 20-year-old Longmorn. Ancnoc is not a mainstream name, but for us that study whiskey, that review whiskey, anybody that is member of a whiskey club will know this. And so I want to do a review on it. And I think what will be a really good idea first is to show you the bottles and show you the color. And Ancnoc was, of course, one of my favorites. Now, this is my second bottle of the 18-year-old, so I might tell you something about the whiskey. And this bottle here is my second 24. So, and all I can say is it's an affordable 24-year-old for me at the time I purchased it. I don't know if it is still today affordable for most of you, but the first bottle was so darn good I had to get a second. So let's take it up front there and let's just show you the color of these whiskeys. So on our left is the 24 Ancnoc, and on our right is the 18 Ancnoc. And I'm kind of struggling here, just like I did with the Ball Blair 18 and the Ball Blair 15. It's a bit of a challenge trying to see which of the bottles is darker. So I'm looking at it, and at first it looks like the 18, and then it looks like the 24. I'm going to say the colors are very close. Now I'm going to bring the two glasses up so you can take a peek at the color. Now I'm starting to see a slight difference in the color. I don't know if you can see it, but I would say that the 24 is a wee bit darker. So we're going to get right into the nose, and we're going to start with the 24, which is on your left, and the nose. A little bit of a stewed note there, and the sherry notes are pretty obvious right off the bat on the 24. Very, very strong nose on this, by the way. And I am getting a wee bit of the wood. And I am getting some floral notes. And the spices. Almost a molasses note there too. Anyways, I think we're going to move over to the 18 and give the 18 a nose now. The nose of the 18. Different. Not as much that stewed note. It's a very honeyed pears, lighter notes. Not the dark as much in the dark fruits as when I compared this to the 10. I thought the 18 was dark, but compared to the 24, it's light. And slight bit of a grassy hay note there, but not as much the wood as I get in the 24. A decent nose, but just a little lighter than the 24. Okay, let's get right into the palate. The palate of the 24. Slàinte Mhath. Rich. Leather. Not tasting the wood as much as I nosed it, but lots of spice. And the spices, I got some licorice going on, both the red and the black. Muscovado, I'd say some of the Muscovado sugar. Maybe that's where that molasses is coming from. And I'm getting some, definitely the dates and the dark fruits. So the Oloroso is definitely present there. I'm going to kind of be going back and forth pretty quick here. We'll get some water to clear my palate. The palate, Ancnoc 18. I am tasting a little more of the sherry now in the 18 than I got on the nose. But not as much intensity. The 18 never had really sharp notes to it. 24's got a few sharp notes to it, but the spices, the cinnamon, the orange, and honey notes. Yeah, I'm even getting some pears showing up here. Not quite as heavy a coating as I got on the 24 there, but it is a balanced drink. You can tell right off the bat, the 18's a balanced drink. I've always been impressed the way everything is kind of balanced out on the 18, but when you're comparing it to the 24, it's almost like there's something missing, and it maybe just is the intensity. That's probably what it is. We are now going to work on the development and the finish, so we'll go back to the 24, clear my palate again. The development and the finish. Back to that stewed note. And strong in the spices, the wood showing up. Still have the black licorice and the red licorice. More dominant on the dark fruits, the figs, and that molasses note is back. Now for the finish on this, it's going to be a longer finish, and there is quite a coating on my mouth right now, but I am getting a little bit of a bite from the wood. But I'm getting a blast of stuff here toward the tail end here. I'm actually getting some of the lighter fruit coming on now. So I am getting some raspberries and strawberries, and so I'm going to clear my palate again, and we'll work on the 18 and the development and the finish on the 18. Okay, the 18, development and the finish. So still getting the sort of a balance between the dark and the lighter fruits in that. Still getting a wee bit of peaches, but I'm also getting some of the raisins and grapes in that. The spices are still cinnamon and orange, or we'll say even maybe, I like the trusty old nutmeg, kind of sneaking in there. There is a chocolate note. And I'm going to say chocolate and maybe even a little bit of coffee going on. Decent finish on it. Not going to be as long a finish as the 24, but a decent finish. Okay, we're now going to add a little water, and now we're going to have some fun. We're going to put in a straw full of water to the 24. And we'll put a straw full of water in the 18. Now, both of these whiskeys, actually, the 24 sat for quite a while, and with the 18 there, You know, the old 20-minute thing. So the 24 with water, the palate. Oh, this loves water. The 24 loves water. I've got dessert going in my mouth right now, floating around in my mouth. So I've got some really sweet pastry. I've got some Christmas cake. I've got date squares. I've got, I would say, a little bit of orange and ginger cookies. And still have a good coating, even with that water, really good coating. But it's a beautiful dessert now. Really balanced. The water really balanced everything out. Just did this. Wee bit of the wood still there, but nothing like at the beginning there. We're going to have some water, and we're going to go right to the 18. That's the trouble when you're comparing, eh? Is the 24 can dominate, and we might lose something on the 18, because the 18 doesn't have the bang that the 24 has. The 18 with water. This is always, you know, brought the mix of fruits. The raspberries, the strawberries, and some beautiful spices going on right now. With the baking spices, you know, and we still have the ginger and the orange. Coating on my mouth. The coating is not what the 24 is, but there's a coating there. And we're talking about the finish. We know this has a little longer finish, the 24. But the 18 should be proud of itself. It's just so balanced. 18 is a sweeter presentation than the 24. I'm going to say that it has a tendency to be, when I said on the lighter side, I'm going to get maybe a little bit more maybe of the bourbon cask influence than I do get on the 24, which is a good thing. You know, it's not a bad thing. They're different. Tonight, if I was looking at these two whiskeys, what are they worth? Well, I paid $259 in Canada, which seems like a lot of money, but it's Canada. But the 18, damn it, I got that way under 180 something when the second bottle, like 189-ish, but it might have been on sale, 185 or something like that. In Canada, these are good prices, you know. This is not where you like to buy whiskey in Canada because it's pricey. Overall, when I take what I paid and I look at what these are worth, this is getting close to a 90, and this is in the 88 range for sure. These are whiskeys you should go out and grab while they're priced the way they are. Excellent whiskeys. Thumbs up on both of them. Really, it's a whiskey you really want to take a look at. It's a small distillery that has a big heart. It's producing some pretty incredible whiskeys. So on that note, I'm going to ask you to drink wisely, drink intelligently, and do not drink and drive until the next time. So much of them.